go with the next topic, that is the electronic mail in the internet. Okay, we all know that electronic mail was the first thing which has been beginned in the internet actually. Before all these things like Smtp, FTP and all, electronic mail was the first one which has been begin its work in the internet, where it was used to send the mails from one user to the other user. So now it was, as we all know, this email is more faster than our postal mail. We call this email is an asynchronous communication. Why? Because when I send a mail now to some other person, the other person can read that message or the mail at his own convenient time. Okay, so that is why we call it as asynchronous communication, and it is very free of cost, nothing much difficulty. It is a very inexpensive and easy to send the mail also. So in this way, electronic mail was very easy for all kind of users. So in this, we will study one of the application protocols that supports this electronic mail in the internet. So that protocol is nothing but we call it as SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So while sending a mail, there are some few major components are there. Let me assume that now this is the user and this is the destination where I want to send the mail. For this person I want to send the mail. So when this user will send a mail, this we call it as user agent. Okay, when I type a mail, that mail will be stored in this server that we call it as mail server. Okay, mail server. Now when this message which is stored here, or the mail which is stored here, which should be transmitted or which should be transferred to another mail server of the user agent. So then this mail server will uses a protocol called as SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocols. So that means in this, out of all these actions, there are three important major components are there. The first one is the user agent, second one is your mail server, and third one is your SMTP protocol, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, which is the protocol of an application layer. Okay, so now we will describe this scenario by giving some names. Let me assume this is an user agent who is the sender who wants to send the mail, and this username, let me assume that is Alice. Alice is the username, and this Alice is sending the mail to the recipient. The recipient name is Bob. Okay, so sender is Alice, recipient is Bob. Okay, so now Alice is the user agent, is the sender. This Alice will be having its own mail server that is called as Alice mail server. This is the Alice mail server, and this is the recipient, that is Bob. Bob will be having its own mail server that we call it as Bob mail server. Bob mail server. Okay, right. So with this story of Alice and Bob, we will continue of explanation of our SMTP. So normally what happens now, Alice is sending a mail, a message or an email to the recipient Bob. Now normally what happens when I want to send a mail, so I am Alice, a user agent. I will be able to read the mail, reply for that mail, forward the mail or save the mail or compose the mail, whatever I can do it. So there are many examples of mail servers will be there, something like our Microsoft Outlook, Apple Mail, Gmail are all the examples of the email. So when Alice wants to send the mail, he should go for the compose, type whatever the message he wants to type, and that Alice user agent sends the message. Where it will send the message? First, the Alice user agent should send the message to the Alice mail server. See here, this is the Alice user agent. It should send the mail first to the Alice mail server. This is the Alice mail server. Okay, right. Next, so when that message in that is in Alice mail server, now this Alice mail server, that mail will be in a queue. Why it is in a queue? Why? Because this mail server should transmit those messages which is there in a queue to the Bob's mail server, to the Bob's mail server, right? So that is the reason. So the message will be there in the queue of an Alice mail server. So when it comes to the Bob's mail server, now whenever Bob wants to read a message, then his user agent, Bob's user agent, will retrieve that email or the message from his mailbox, which is stored in the Bob's mail server. Is it correct? So as I tell you according to this diagram, now Alice will compose a mail, it will send a mail. Now that mail will be stored in this mail server, and that email will be in a queue to transfer to a Bob's mail server. So when this Alice mail server transfers that message or the email to the Bob's mail server, now it will be stored in the Bob's mail server. Now whenever the Bob's, which is an user agent, recipient user agent, whenever he opens his mailbox, then this mail server makes him to retrieve those emails which has come from the Alice. Now this is the normal process which is going to happen in electronic mail, email transfer. Okay. Now, as I told that each recipient, whether it is Alice or a Bob, whoever it is, each recipient will be having a mailbox located in one of the mail servers. Okay, it is not compulsory that always the user agent should be here only, it can be anywhere, but his mailbox will be here. Mail server will be here, mailbox will be here itself in this server. It will be maintained by this server only. And Alice mail server, mails will be maintained by this Alice mail server only. Right. So now with this basic information about the transfer of mail between the Alice and the Bob. So this is the thing what exactly happens. Okay. So now what happens? A message, when user sends the message, as I told, it will first go to the sender mail server and then it will transfer to the recipient mail server, and finally it will be deposited in a recipient's mailbox. So whenever the recipient, that is Bob, wants to access the message in his mailbox, so the mail server containing his mailbox will authenticate Bob, that means Bob should give the username and password. So after that, the mail server will give the mails which have been received to the, which have been come to the Bob. Now Alice mail server might, sometimes it may fail. In what way it will fail? In suppose, let me assume that whatever the Alice has sent the mail, it has not delivered to Bob server itself. Bob server. Why it has not received? Why? Because in the Alice server, the email or the message will be stored in message queue. Correct? In that message queue, every time he try to attempt to transfer that message, but is unable to attend, it is unable to send. Why? Because his Bob mail server is not able to reach it. So for every 30 minutes, this Alice server will re-attempt to transfer that mail, and it will re-attempt every 30 minutes for 1 day or 2 days. So after that, now what will happen? If even though that mail has not able to reach, then the Alice server, what it will do, it will remove that message and notifies to the sender, that is Alice, that this message has not reached. So there are many examples you people might also have been experienced, that if I send a mail for an incorrect mail address, then what will happen? Then my mail server in turn it will give me a message that this address or the message has been sent to this mail ID has bounced back. Okay, this type of message you people might also have been experienced. Okay, now we have spoke about the mail server, we have spoke about the user agent. Now we will speak about the SMTP. As I told what I mean by SMTP, SMTP stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, which is again this protocol is present in application layer and it is purely used for the internet electronic mail. And this SMTP is a reliable data transfer. As we all know now, what do you mean by reliable data transfer? That means it uses the TCP to transfer the mail from sender mail server to recipient mail server. So now SMTP will act both as client and as well as a server. Okay. So when, for example, when the message is coming from this Alice mail server to Bob mail server, now Alice mail server will be the client and Bob's mail server will be the server. Similarly, if a Bob server wants to send a message to Alice server, now Bob mail server will become the client and Alice mail server will become the server, right? So this is how now SMTP will act, executes both at the client side as well as the server side. At a client side, which executes on sender's mail server, and a server side which executes on recipient's mail server. So when a mail server receives mail from another mail server, it acts as a SMTP server. When a mail server sends mail to the mail servers, it acts as a SMTP client. Right? So I hope you people have understood now. Now this SMTP will act both as SMTP client as well as SMTP server. Now, as we all studied now, each protocol will be having its RFC number. What do you mean by RFC? Request for comments. So, the request for comments 5321 is given for SMTP. Right? So, now normally what happens is that there is some few rules and regulations for an SMTP protocol. Now, whatever the message I will type, that message should be converted into 7-bit ASCII code. It should be converted into 7-bit ASCII code. Whether it is a normal document file or whether it is an image or an audio or a video, whatever it is, everything should be converted into 7-bit ASCII code. So converting this into 7-bit ASCII code is a little bit of an hectic job, which what SMTP is doing. Okay, and after this, when it is converted to ASCII, when it reaches to the destination part, again this SMTP is responsible that to convert again from ASCII to binary. Right? So this is the long procedure what SMTP will do now. Okay, so now these are the some few steps. We will again go back and see what Alice and Bob will do. So the first step what Alice is going to do is that Alice invokes her user agent for email, provides Bob's email address. Okay, so for sending any email, I need the destination mail address, that is in this case I need a Bob's email address. Okay, right? So now Alice will start composing a message. Okay, and then this is the first point, that is what it is shown in the diagram here. This is the first point what Alice is going to do. So after composing a message, now in the second step, Alice user agent sends the message to her mail server where it is placed in the message queue. See, now in the second point, Alice starts sending the message and it will be stored in the mail server queue. Now in the third step, this is the third step. Now what third step is doing? The client side of SMTP running on Alice mail server sees the message in message queue. Okay, so the message is there in the message queue. So it opens a TCP connection to an SMTP server. Now this is the SMTP server running on the Bob's mail server. Now what is the fourth step now? Fourth step is after some initial SMTP handshaking, the SMTP client sends Alice message into the TCP connection. Now what is the fifth point? Now fifth point tells at Bob's mail server, the server side of the SMTP receives the message. So this server receives the message and Bob mail server then places the message in the Bob's mailbox. So this is the mailbox and this is the messages which is there in the queue and this is the Bob's mail server or the mailbox. Now at the sixth point, what Bob will do? Bob invokes his user agent to read the message at his convenience. So this is what will happen whenever we send the mail by using this SMTP protocol. Right. So whatever we have seen still now, it looks something like everything is going on smooth, everything is fine and all. Okay, but along with this we will study some few more things of this SMTP. Along with this SMTP we require some few more protocols which support this SMTP, right. So first of all, we know that as of right now for this electronic mail internet we use an protocol called as SMTP, and SMTP always uses a TCP connection at a port number 25. 25 is the port number. For HTTP we use port number 80. For FTP we use 20 and 21 as the port number, and for SMTP we are using 25 as the port number. Right? So now normally what happens is that in this case, once the connection is established between the client and the server mailbox, right? They introduce themselves, everything is fine, they will get a connection and all, everything is done. Now SMTP client, what it will do indicates that I have the message, I should send to this email address. Okay. Now client sends the message. Now SMTP, by using a reliable data connection, that is the TCP, it will sends that message to the server without any errors. Now the client then repeats this process over the same TCP connection if it has some other messages to send to the server. Otherwise, it will close the TCP connection. Correct? So these are the some few messages between the client and the server, the conversation which has been happened. So this is not much important, so I'll just leave it out. Okay. Now I'll come to this. The mail message formats are the mail access protocols. Right. Now, as of right now, we have seen that now Bob or the allies can use or execute the mailbox in any kind of user end system, that is either by our PC, our laptop, or a smartphone, or whatever it is. Okay. So now when this Bob executes this user agent on his local PC, it is natural to consider placing a mail server on his local PC as well. Okay, no problem. So it is something like I have the PC, I have the open my mailbox, my box is connected to the mail server. That is what we can see. Now, now what is going to happen is that this Ally's mail server will it directly send to Bob's PC? No. It will first send to the server, and from the Bob mail server, then the Bob can retrieve that mailbox either by using his local PC or whatever it is. Okay, but here there is some few more things which we should discuss, that is very important in this case. Now, if suppose here you can see here when there are many number of mails are coming, Then there are some few protocols are there, something like the POP3 protocol, which we call it as post office protocol, that we call it as POP3 post office protocol, and internet mail access protocol, that is IMAP, and also HTTP. These three protocols are required in order to make the Bob mail server that he can access the mail server wherever he needs, wherever the location he is in. Okay, so this is all about the protocols which is required by the SMTP, additional protocols required by the SMTP in order to work this POP, in order to work my mail server in an efficient way.